You're now listening to Sound Talent Media. Check out more shows at soundtalentmedia.com.
TIAA is on a mission. Why? Because 54% of Black Americans don't have enough savings to retire. So in collaboration with big-name artists like Wyclef Jean, TIAA released Paper Right, new music inspiring a new financial future. With 100% of streaming sales going to a nonprofit that teaches students how to invest. Stream Paper Right now and help close the gap.
What is up, good people? Welcome to another episode of the podcast. Thank you so much for hanging out with me this week. I'm really excited for you to get to this episode. Blair is one of the owners of Eastside Music Supply in Nashville, Tennessee. You know, Nashville is one of my very favorite places on the planet and my home away from home. And Eastside is an incredibly cool store. It's one of the newer stores in town, technically speaking. You know, there's some very, very old shops there that are really well established for vintage guitars and the like. Eastside's been around for quite a while, but relatively speaking, it is kind of one of the newer shops in town, which is why it's extra impressive to see how they've established themselves as not only a destination spot for visitors to Nashville, but really a cornerstone of the musical community there. If you are into effects pedals and you find yourself in Nashville, you absolutely must visit Eastside. And if somehow you are hearing this and you live in Nashville, you've never been to Eastside, you definitely need to go check it out. They are a very, very cool store. I still have very fond memories of the very first time I visited there. It's truly an epic place. I'm making a conscious effort to reach out to more store owners because guitar stores are an extremely important part of the musical communities that they serve. A lot of us have really foundational memories of visiting guitar stores, I think. So I have not focused on that enough. I've talked to a lot of brands and a lot of builders and a lot of musicians, but I've not really focused enough attention on really, really well-ran guitar stores. And I'm trying to change that. So that is what we are doing this week. So we should dive right in, but I do want to make sure that everybody knows that I did select the winners for the Maris LVX giveaway. If you go to the Tone Mob Instagram, you'll see the announcement for the trivia winner, who was Jeremy Ryan, and I hope he really enjoys that pedal. And Erratic Pedal Adventures won the Patreon portion of the giveaway. So those are the two winners. Thank you to everybody who participated. I know that going through the trivia stuff was an extra layer of work, but these pedals are not cheap pedals, and there's a lot of work that goes into them. And we thought it would be really cool if you could actually get to know the people behind those in a more in-depth way, because that interview was really, really good. And if you haven't listened to it yet, honestly, just go back and listen to the one with Terry and Angelo from Maris. It's from 2018, but their story is just as relevant today as it was back then. And I think they're great people. And yes, they're sponsoring the show now, of course. You're going to hear that later, I'm sure, but they really are an epic company, really great people, and I'm really thankful to them for all of their support and for helping put together this giveaway. It was really, really a cool thing. Shout out Gina. She's incredible. And I really, truly do absolutely love what they're doing over there. There's something really, really insanely epic coming, so stay tuned for that. Maybe I'll make a little content for it. We'll find out. Let's see what happens. All right, I think I should probably shut up so that we can get to talking to Blair White from Eastside Music Supply. Let's go. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Tone Mob Podcast, the show about guitar stuff occasionally, sometimes. I'm your host, Blake Weiland, and with me today I have Blair White from Eastside Music Supply. What's going on, dude?
What's up, man? How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I got a sandwich in my belly. I'm ready to go.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. We got some sunshine here, which is nice. It's been a rampage with rain lately, so it's nice to kind of clear it back up, you know.
We got a little too much sunshine right now. Yeah. It's been like 105 for the last few days, and
yeah,
us Oregonians are not built for that. We're not.
No, it's too hot, man. It's too hot. It gets like that here, and it's like you're swimming through the air. It's like so humid when it gets that hot.
It's way worse if it gets that hot in Nashville, to be perfectly honest. If it gets hot here, it's usually dry, which is also kind of scary because then everything's a
Gonna
tinderbox.
catch on fire. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a big deal out there, man.
In the valley where I live, it didn't used to be that big of a deal.
Yeah.
But it's proven, it's like almost like the climate's changing. Weird.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. It's strange.
Yeah. We used to never get snow. Now we get snow. Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
All the time.
Yeah. But yeah, I wanted to get you on because honestly, I have not had enough people in the music retail space on. And I'm changing that this week because I got you on today. Yeah. I'm talking to the dudes from 5 Star Guitar here in Portland tomorrow.
Right on.
I think the only other person who runs the store that I've had on is Hank, who used to run Old Town Music and now runs Hank's Music Exchange here in Portland. So
dude,
you're like
Old
number
Town was
2.
Cool.
Old Town.
Yeah,
Old Town was cool when Hank ran it.
I don't know, and I believe you because I bet Hank ran it like 5-6 years ago. Yep. I was there when I visited. I was out there with some friends on the band called All Them Witches, and
they're so good.
They're sick. Yeah. So I went out there to hang out, and when we stopped by a couple shops, and Old Town was rad. It was like sweet little shop.
Yeah, I haven't been back in a while, admittedly, so it might still be cool. Hank was my boy, so
hey man, that's a real thing, and like, some music retail shops suck, and sometimes it's the people running them, and sometimes it's just the shop itself. But yeah, it's part of it.
There was a store here in Portland that was a really good store, really great, legendary store to some degrees, but man, everyone that would go there would just have the worst experiences. They shut down a few years ago, and I did speak with the owner when they were doing it, and apparently it wasn't for financial reasons, which I do believe because he owned that building. So yeah, but it was a weird experience. I've told it several times on the show, but basically I was in the market for a vintage Jazzmaster at the time, and they had one, so I went there, and I was told that very explicitly that I was not allowed to play it. If I wanted to, that
doesn't work.
I was like, well,
probably not going to buy it.
I'm probably not going to
play it.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm going to go. Actually, at the time, I was like, I'm going to go to Old Town. So see you later.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But
I always hate that vibe. The no touchy, and like the guitar is up high that you can't reach. That ask for assistance, and I don't know. I guess our shop, I don't really have to worry about it because I'm not trying to do like the Carter or Rumble seat thing with like $50,000 guitars, So it's kind of
but they'll let you play those. Like you just,
I know they will. Yeah, they will. Yeah, most places. Yeah, so most places that have $50,000 guitars, all of those places, they're everywhere.
All of those places, yeah, so many. Just there's you throw a rock, you can't hardly miss. There's so many. But I wanted to get you on. I wanted to hear the Eastside story. Eastside is a store that I've always pointed people like Nashville is my home away from home. So when I go there, I obviously the first time I went when I was an adult, I went when I was a kid. That didn't really count. But when I was an adult, of course, I went to every shop I possibly could. And Eastside stood out. I bought a Caroline Meteor from you guys.
That's a good one. That's a good one to buy.
I left a bowl of picks that were very breakable on the I didn't know they were breakable, but they were. But Eastside's always been a store that I pointed to.
Thanks, man.
And I think it's a great vibe. But how did you? I mean, starting a store is really hard. Like just getting it open is hard.
It is.
How did you do this? What is this? What's the Eastside story?
So okay, well, buckle up.
Here we go.
Basically, Brandon and I own the store with a friend, one of my best friends. His name's Brandon, and we basically were playing in a band together. And we lived in East Nashville, and there was nowhere to go get like tubes if your amp went out, or like strings, or even just like a clip-on tuner or guitar, something like that. Like we just have to drive across the highway in Nashville, like cross the river, and Nashville's grown a lot. So what looks like on a map, 8 miles, can take 45 minutes during the wrong time of day. And that's kind of basically how it started. We were trying to go to a rehearsal. We're working musicians, which is, in my opinion, is someone who works another job and is trying to play as a musician. So we were working, we, get out of work at 3 or 4 o'clock from our jobs, and we have to bust it over to Guitar Center, or Rock Block was a shop at the time in Nashville that kind of did it right for a while, but also had some weird things change, kind of like you were talking about with Old Town. Anyways, yeah, so we basically were stuck in traffic for way too long just to go across the river and get like a $40 GE7,
Right.
and it took us like 2 hours. Like, this is so stupid. There's so many artists and creative people on the East Side, and someone is just needs to open a shop here. And then we started thinking about that, and we were like, well, if someone does it, it's probably going to suck. Like, let's open one like we would want it to be, which is like full of like, weird stuff. Like, you've been in the shop, we've got obscure guitars and amps, and we, curate the small space that we have. The pedals, obviously we love pedals. And in town there was, just not enough variety, especially with kind of the boom that the pedals have had as of the past like decade or so. Yeah, it was like I could go to Old Town and play a Mr. Black pedal, and in Nashville I couldn't do that. And I was like, this is Music City. Like, why does somewhere here have a Mr. Black pedal? And so that's kind of, how we started the framework of the shop, is wanting it to be like a place like that we would want to go to. And then, you expand on that. Well, what does that mean? Not just gear selection, but like also like, I want to be comfortable. Like, I don't want to feel like I'm like asking the guy if I can play the guitar that I might be buying. Like, that's just, I want to be able to, people to feel like they can have that like at home experience or at a friend's. Like, if I was to go to the shed there with you, like those guitars on the wall, I feel like I could probably grab one of those guitars and Blake's not going to get pissed. It looks like that. It's very inviting. So we tried to do that. And it's starting a business is hard. It's weird. We pitched the idea of opening up a guitar shop in Nashville, and everyone looked at us like we were stupid, because there's like 10 of them already. There was like no need for another guitar shop in Nashville.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, so we started it out with like half of our own gear. Like, we were just big nerds, obviously, before all this, which led us to where we are. But yeah, we like had guitars and amps that were out of our personal collection that like, I remember there being a couple times where we would bring in like a Jazzmaster or a Les Paul just to have one so people could hear what the pedal or amp sounded like with a Jazzmaster or Les Paul. But it was like, that's my guitar. That's not for sale. This is like really, just kind of had to go with the flow, and started very small selection of gear. But like Mr. Black actually was one of them. Mantic was another one. Earthquaker, and I can't remember else. Red Panda Labs. We just wanted the weird stuff, Fairfield Circuitry. These were all brands that were like, we want to do, what everyone else is not doing. We can go get all this other stuff at another place if we need to. Let's give people a place where they can get stuff that's not available. And so that's how it happened, man. And me and Brandon both worked our jobs that we had. I used to paint and remodel houses when I wasn't playing music, and Brandon was working at an audio visual company here in town that did lighting for concerts and sound. And we both worked those jobs for the first like year, and we would trade off who would be in the shop. And so we tried to just, not wear ourselves out, but we were open 7 days a week, late night hours for musicians.
Yep.
And it was crazy, man. It was real wild. And so we finally kind of were able to grow into a bigger space and hired, one of our friends. It was the first person that we ever hired. And now we got like 10 people full time, and we've been at this newer location for like 7 years now. And it's cool, man. We're just trying to keep at it,
It's such a daunting thing too, because to start a podcast, right? You start a podcast, the overhead's relatively low, and I actually had people when I it wasn't new when I started, but it was starting to gain traction, but most people still didn't know what it was. And, and so when I started the show, I had friends and family be like, well, why don't you just start a guitar store? And I was like, you guys are crazy. Like, that is so much harder than what I'm trying to do, at least from an overhead perspective. It's so much more difficult to get that off the ground, especially while I was by myself and working a full-time job and had a family and everything, I was like, there's no way I have the bandwidth to start a guitar store. So anytime I see somebody be able to pull it off, I'm always blown away. And you guys have certainly pulled it off.
It's a labor of love, at least it was, still kind of is. And a lot of work, whatever, grease, get your hands greasy, fingernails dirty, all that stuff. But yeah, I don't know. It's the overhead thing was one thing that we had to tackle that was kind of tricky because, like I said, we didn't get a lot of favor from the investors that we were talking to. They were just kind of like, yeah. So that took a while to grow our capital to be able to we still don't have half the that I wish that I could have. Like, there's so many brands of sweet luthiers and guys building rad pedals that I want to have on the wall, but it's like, I don't have, $200,000 to go buy all this stuff and stock it in the store.
And then hope somebody comes in and buys it.
Yeah. That's the other thing too, but I'm from Nashville originally. So born and raised there. And, I've been involved in the music scene for a really long time. And, so I knew a lot of people. And so we kind of had like a little bit of a, hey, I got some homies like in town that can come buy their strings from me, that week. They're like support the shop. And so we got a lot of love from the local scene here in East Nashville and greater Nashville in general. But so that was a big part of it. Because we did not focus on online. We're actually just kind of been pushing online the past few years because we mostly do most of our business just in-house, like in the shop. So that's not a normal thing to do in this day and age. And so that is a little tricky.
Well, and it's also important though, because I know putting my brand guy hat on, that's what we're looking for, is somebody who can do really well in their local area, because that's something that an individual brand can't necessarily do. Sure, you can do well maybe wherever you're based, but but it's a different thing running a brand versus running a good retail operation. Those are two very different things, and doing them both at the same time is tricky. So when there's some online only stores, and some of them are worth dealing with, and some of them are just posting stuff on Reverb, and that doesn't. It's like, well, I can post stuff on Reverb.
Man,
that doesn't really help. Yeah, no.
Yeah, it's flooded for sure. And there's nothing wrong with, like you said, like a lot of the online places that really curate stuff, that do cool stuff. They contribute, I feel like, to the industry, which is a big deal to me. A lot of the whole like warehouse website kind of business models, I'm not a fan of. I don't know. It's just not been something I've ever, the experience I have with buying music gear is not the same experience that I have when I'm wanting to order my groceries, I guess is the easy way to say it. Yep. Like, I don't care to go in and talk to the guy about, the beer that I'm about to buy or the bag of chips or whatever it is. Like, I just need my groceries. I'm in and out, With gear, though, it's like, I want to know. I'm like, have you played this pedal? Like, what do you think? I've never heard of this brand. Who builds them? Where are they from? That kind of thing. And that's always been something that when I was growing up as a musician, and a lot of people, as well, just you get that experience, that like neighborhood guitar shop experience, which I think is really important in growing the culture of the music scene in your community. And so that's, I was a product of that, growing up in town, going to my local shops. And I feel like it is an important thing to have. And yeah, it is a little tricky, not as tricky for me, I suppose, as it is for someone in a smaller town. Obviously, Nashville is like, we're just fucking stacked to the gills with guitar players. So I'm not like missing any, opportunity for a guitar player to come in the shop.
Half the population or more probably plays guitar. Like,
oh, dude, yeah. And I joke about it all the time, but like, probably better than you is what I tell people when they come in the shop. I'm like, people that move here, I'm like, yeah, the guy that like made your sandwich today is like a ridiculous guitar player. Like, so that's always kind of an interesting thing about Nashville is the guy pouring your coffee, might play in one of your favorite bands that you've never heard of. It's really, really cool to have that many musicians in town for sure.
Yeah, it's something that I think is really truly unlike anything else in the whole world. There
Yeah.
there are music places, like New York's a music place, LA's a music place, but there are also other places as well. They have other entertainment things that kind of cross over, and neither of them are as centrally music focused as Nashville is. It's Music City. That's all it is. You know, there's really, you don't go there for much of anything else, really. The food and the music.
Parties.
But they're there because they like music that I don't necessarily like, but they're there for music. That's why that's why it became Nash Vegas, right? All because of music. So
the industry, the industry cluster, or whatever you want to call it, it's super unique. The amount of just, you think about even just like on the production side of things, like the amount of jobs that are created from the music industry in Nashville, like the bus drivers, and then like the mechanics for the bus, and the songwriters that are writing songs, and the publishing companies that pay the songwriters, and the singers that play the songs, and the guys that fix the guitars for the guitar player in the singer's band. And it's just like, it is a big wheel turning in the town for sure. It's a very unique. I think like per capita, as far as like how many musicians are in the area, it's definitely got to be like, the largest in the world. Like for sure.
Yeah. It's one of the only places on the planet with a guitar store in the airport. So I mean,
that's just right when you get off the plane, they're ready for it.
It's like boom, like, well, okay, I guess we're
like, here. Do you want to buy this $7,000 Les Paul Standard? Well, hold on. Can I play it first?
Yeah, as long as I can play it first.
No, don't touch it. Don't touch it. You can't touch it.
Just look at it. Yeah, it's interesting when you put it that way. You talk about all the jobs that spin off of it. There's the obvious ones, right? There's guitar shops. There's luthiers. There's blah 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 blah. There's string manufacturers, but like, hey, we have to call electricians to come wire things up. I mean, the electrician used to be me, but it's not. We've graduated past that redneck level. We got to get.
Yeah. Hey, man, I have to pick up the paintbrush at my house every now and then. My wife is always like, you just don't want to. You just hate it so much. I'm like, I do. I don't ever want to paint a wall again. I just want to play guitars. But
Yeah. But yeah, you got to call people to do that. There was plumbers that got to come fix the plumbing, and it's all because of music, which is kind of crazy at the end of the day, how much it really brings in for being. I know it's not what it looks like to most people. The general population sees musicians on stage and they see the flashing lights and they see the shows and everything, and they're like, wow, what a big, huge industry it is. But at the end of the day, it's a tiny blip on the radar in every respect. Even in the entertainment world at large, it's still the smallest sector of it. And it's just, I think I didn't fully understand that before I got deeper into it, but the deeper I go, the smaller I realize it is. All of a sudden, I'm getting contacted from publicists that represent 50 different metal bands, and I'm like,
right.
Oh,
that's
wow.
Great.
It's like, oh, wow. All these people are connected to this one person, and this one person's managing all these different projects. And it's like, it's so much smaller and more tight knit than people realize outside looking in, which is kind of wild.
Yeah. There's a lot of behind the curtain down here, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, actually, there's probably less than people imagine. It's like, well, there's like 4 dudes back there running the whole thing, like, doing all the lights and everything.
Yeah. No, we have people that still come in the shop that have only kind of seen like our, social media presence or whatever, where they see like, and they think that we're like a big, humongous building, like Chicago Music Exchange or something. And it's like, no, we have like it's like a 1,500 square foot room. It's like, it's very small. And there's, we've got 10 like full-time people now, but that's like split between our repair and our sales people upstairs, and then like myself and Brandon included, because we obviously still work at the shop. Where I'm not quite to private jet, call me later status, but one can hope, right?
One can hope. Surely we'll get there one day.
One day, on the corpses of everyone. Yeah. No, that's definitely not the vibe at all. But
hi, I'm Vincent, and I'm here to talk about the Mercury X. My dad's always going on and on about how cool Maris is. He really went off on one about the Mercury X the other day. He said something about a 4,800 hertz sample rate and 99 preset locations in 33 banks, and something along the lines of the most advanced reverb pedal ever devised by man? That's all true, but I only care about one thing. This pedal sounds sick. So make sure you check out the Mercury X and all the other fine products at maris.us, as well as fine retailers worldwide. All right, Dad, now can I have my Pocky?
How exactly do artists get their music on Spotify, Apple Music, Deezer, Tidal, all these services? How in the world do you get your music there? Well, in the past, you had to use something called a record label. But these days, you can use DistroKid. DistroKid is the absolute easiest way to get your music up on streaming services. And it's the most affordable way to do so. Not only do plans start at $22.99 for the entire year, that's less than $2 a month, DistroKid also does not take a cut of your streaming revenue, unlike some other services out there. Even better if you sign up by going to tonemob.com/distrokid. That's tonemob.com/distrokid. One more time, that's tonemob.com/distrokid. You'll get 30% off. That's right, 30% off their already extremely reasonable prices. So go to tonemob.com/distrokid and get your music out there. So you've obviously noticed you've been a Stringjoy dealer for a long time, and we have started focusing way more heavily on stores in general. We were direct, that was our thing for a long time, and it still is a thing, but we've recently really shifted into wanting to focus on dealers. And we're in like 400 something stores now, but Scott and I's viewpoint is we sell the cigarettes of the guitar world. You have to be in every store. If somebody goes in for strings and they prefer Stringjoy, but we're not there, it doesn't do any good because they're going to take whatever they need at that moment, right? So we got to be everywhere. But in doing that, we've noticed that something that I didn't really think about before, which should be more obvious, but there's different types of music stores. There's stores that the store part is kind of a secondary thing to maybe the lesson program or the repair program. There's stores like yours that focus on like having a lot of effects pedals and different things. And then there's vintage shops. There's more general like Guitar Center light type places. Like how does somebody go about if they're going to want to start a store, say in their local area? Like, do they just do what they want to do and hope for the best, or what would your recommendation be there?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. There's like, I remember growing up, there was like one shop that like they primarily rented school instruments, like band instruments, but they had like a little corner that would have a few guitars in it, and that's what they were still in business to this day, And yeah, there's a ton of vintage shops in town, and we definitely took the pedal route as kind of the main focus, and then just to kind of have some obscure oddball guitars and amps. But yeah, I don't know. If you're going to start a store, I would probably tell someone don't, because there's enough of us. No, but I'd just pick something that you like, and that's kind of like what me and Brandon did. We love pedals, and so that was going to be our main focus. We kind of intentionally did not try to step on toes, actually. It was kind of like even brand specific. It's kind of like, oh, this person does this here in town, or they do really good like folk instruments and acoustics and bluegrass. We're just going to leave that alone. But you find out, when you open the business and people come in and look around and, then they're like, oh, they're doing pedals. We're going to do pedals. That's business doesn't care about the stepping on toes. So I just say, do what you like. And if it, you don't do it because you like think it's a good idea, because it's really not a good idea unless you like it doing it. Yeah, if you like, vintage guitars, then get some vintage guitars.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point. That's also, it sounds weird to say, but it's also sort of related to music as a career in general, right? Don't do it because you think you're going to be the next Dave Grohl, because odds are, even if you're really talented, you're probably not going to be the next Dave Grohl. It's just,
Totally. Yeah.
the odds are very slim.
You
You have
play
to
because
do it,
you
love it, right?
yeah, play because you love it. And that's, and that's kind of, yeah, you gotta do that. What was it? Play authentic. You have to play authentic.
That's right. You have to.
You need to live authentic.
That's right.
But yeah, that's definitely, that's kind of our approach, is kind of just like who we are, and what we've kind of chosen to do and what we think is cool. And that comes down to, down to the, how we treat people too. We're real people. We like to be treated like real people. And, we've had some interesting interactions with people that have approached us, like a big like call center or something, and it's just kind of like, dude, like you're not. This isn't going to end well. Just let's come here, settle this. You don't have to come back here again. And I don't know. It's just weird. It's a weird business.
Well, retail in general is challenging. Like whether you're talking about folding clothes at Old Navy or anything that's customer focused like that, you get to experience the best side of people and the worst side of people. And it kind of tells you almost immediately when somebody starts talking to you, if they're just like, excuse me, rah, 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 and they're really coming down on you like they're in charge somehow. It's kind of a weird side, because we think of most of us think of going to the music store as something fun and cool to do, but sometimes people come in there with an attitude whether they're trying to be a hot shot, like, look at me, I can play Sweet Child of Mine better than you, or it's got to be a weird cross section of folks that come through there, I imagine.
It is. You get the guys trying to prove something, and then you get the sweetest people in the world. And sometimes they're in the room at the same time, which is always interesting. But yeah, I mean, we try to, we treat people well. I'm not trying to come out here as a bitch fest and talk about how everybody sucks, but
right.
I think, we've just had some more, I don't know. It sounded like a bitch fest. All I'm doing is complaining about stuff.
Not really. I mean, you're telling the story. It's real. It's a thing that you have to deal with. It's a rather unique viewpoint on the whole music industry that I don't think a lot of people have. But at the same time, I have to imagine. I mean, for me, I was never going to get very far as just a musician. Just because I wasn't going to tour. I wasn't going to do all that. So there was only so far I was going to be able to take it as a career. But through doing the show, I've gotten a lot of different opportunities to have conversations with people and see things that I never ever would have otherwise. Having a store, has that lended itself to some of those experiences? You've done a lot of cool things in music too. You took it a lot further than I did, but have you had some interesting experiences, like fun experiences, as a result of having the store?
Yeah. Being able to meet all kinds of people is always awesome. Like you're talking, even like meeting people like you, just like making friends with people on this side of the industry, as well as, on both sides of the stages, so to speak, and both sides of the counter. I met some of my best friends now, because of the shop, and that's always awesome. And then we get we get to see all the new before it comes out and play with all the, kind of keep those secrets, before release day, which is always kind of fun, to kind of keep the childlike interest in, playing guitars and amps and pedals, as opposed to seeing the monotonous, like, oh, there's another pedal, and just, kind of letting it come in and out. So that's all. That is the stuff that kind of keeps it fun, and the good side of things, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you can talk about this very much, and if you can't, just tell me the next question. But Joel's supported this show for a long time. Chase Bliss has supported this podcast for like probably close to 5 years now, and so it was interesting to see when they did their switch to mostly direct, and then they, that was. Everybody can look that up if they don't know what I'm talking about. But they pulled back from dealers largely, mostly went direct. And then recently, you became one of the only like stateside Chase Bliss dealers, which I think is
It's awesome.
I know Joel pretty well, and that speaks really highly to what he thinks of your store, I think. So how did that happen? Can you talk about that at all?
Yeah. Well, I've known Joel since we were both doing other things. When I was at NAMM as an artist playing and trying to get deals on pedals, I met Joel while he was working at Zvex. And we became friends there. And then, a few years went by and we saw each other again. And he was like, "Hey, I'm starting my own pedal company." And I was like, "Hey, I'm opening up a guitar shop." And it was actually really ironic timing. So we've maintained a really long friendship. Joel shares a lot of the same values that we do, as far as like the views of some of the industry, and how things could be for the better of everyone moving forward. And that's, customer engagement, and I think less of the like, hey, I don't know how to say this. Joel has created products that basically, if you owned a music store, you didn't have to do anything to sell them. You could put up a pre-order for 100 pedals, and they'd all sell. And then you'd tell Joel, "Hey, Joel, I need 100 pedals," and he's going to say, "Okay." And Joel sends them to you, and you send them out the mail, and you didn't do anything for that at all. And I think that is a side of the industry that a lot of people moving forward kind of value people in our position, where we're actually talking to customers, we're actually educating you on the product. We're a place where you can come and build culture and community and connect with people, and it is important. And as opposed to like, I feel like we earn our money off of that small margin that we get off of pedals. Our shop earns it, and some shops don't really care to. They just kind of just whatever, And I think that was kind of the move with Joel, seeing that there was value in a place like ours where people could come in and experience it and play it, that weren't in Minnesota, or couldn't get their hands on an item. And so I think that's kind of where that came from. And we're also with Mike in Relic Music up in Jersey, is also a stateside dealer now as well. And
I wasn't aware of that. Cool.
Yeah, he's doing a really good shop up there too. He's not every music store sucks, and not every customer sucks. Sorry, I sound super grouchy today. But yeah, he's doing a great job. And I don't know, Joel, I think that's basically it. Joel sees the value in a shop like ours, and that's really just like the best compliment I could get to like how we're running our business, is for someone like Joel to also feel the same way, to be like, you know what, I want my pedals in you guys' shop. So that's really, really awesome. Yeah, for sure.
I'm glad you spoke to that, because there is like, I'm gonna try not to be negative Nancy over here. We'll see how this goes. But there is a tendency with some stores to view it as the brand's job to bring in the customers. And I can understand that to some degree. There was a shop here in Portland this is going back like 10 plus years ago, but they were the only Earthquaker dealer at the time. And I wanted to try Earthquaker pedals, so that's where I had to go. And in that case, the brand did bring me into the store.
Yeah.
In most other cases, though, it's the stores that bring me, at least here in Portland. Yeah. It's the stores themselves that bring me in, because most people are carrying, at least here, are carrying a lot of the same stuff. And it's the stores themselves that actually make me want to make the drive and go. And there does seem to be a weirdly high, and I think it's shifting, I think it's changing, but there for a long time, there was dealers you could almost view as a shelf. Like they literally just have the product and they don't do anything else. And I don't think that really benefits people in the same way that it should. When you're talking about building community and actually trying to show people and explain to people what these like Chase Blisses are, pretty complicated. So some people might need a walkthrough. You guys can do that, you know, and instead of just like, hey, we got the thing that you want, totally. And in this day and age, I mean, the brand, I heard about some stores closing as a result of Taylor and Martin going direct, and Taylor and Martin did not go direct only.
No.
They just started selling direct, and the stores gave the excuse that, well, now that they're going direct, we can't be in business anymore. And I thought, I'm kind of a
you're
jerk
just their
way. I'm like,
middleman.
so, well, then why do you exist? I don't mean to be a jerk,
Sure.
but why are you there if that's the
It's
only
true.
thing keeping you in business?
Yeah, it's true. And I think, for us with the Chase Bliss scenario, like we do not sell the Chase Bliss pedals online. And that, if you just want the product, like, you're talking about, we'll buy it from the guy who made it, who's like growing his business. And so he can continue to do that. If you come in to me for a recommendation and you're like, I need a trippy pedal that I can write with and get, super out there. And I'm going to be like, yo, plug this mood in, and then I can like help you get that. Then that's where someone like me has the value. And, it's like you're talking about with your strings earlier, though. It's like, if you don't have them in the shop, then someone's going to walk out with another set of 10s or whatever they need, and that is kind of like when people come to us and they are like, hey, I'm looking for a tap tempo delay pedal. And we're like, okay, well, we have lots of them. And if you're if you're not like looking for a specific brand, or if you're like, hey, I'm looking for this tap tempo delay. And I'm like, well, I don't have that. But what I do have are all these other things. And so again, that's where like the brand to dealer relationship, I think, is becoming stronger moving forward, because we're building relationships with these people too. And like, I want to see Joel do well. I want to see Joel take care of his family and his crew. And so I'm going to sell one of Joel's pedals anytime I can get my like a chance to do it. And so, having a relationship with people like that, is it's kind of like the put your money where your mouth is kind of thing. And that's important to us. It's not important to everyone, and that's fine, but it's important to us. And so, yeah, I think that it is. It's important that you got to just wear it. It's important. It's all important.
It's all important.
Everything's so important.
Yeah. And, I said all that, and it probably sounded kind of complainy, but it was just trying to express what's been expressed to me from other business owners. Especially, I mostly talk to people on the brand side and, dealing with doing brand stuff myself. Now, at Stringjoy, we do view it a little differently, because what we sell is almost a commodity in some ways. If you don't have strings, you don't play guitar. That's
sure. Yeah,
that's just what it is.
Yeah, and they're gonna break.
So they're gonna break. You're gonna have to. It's the only way.
To buy some more.
And we want to be the preferred brand because we truly believe in what we're making, and we do the absolute best we can to make the best product that we can possibly make. But at the same time, no one's going to quit playing guitar if Stringjoy goes out of business. It's not going to happen, right? So what we view our role as is trying to make the best thing we can and make sure people are aware of it. So when they do see it, that they can gravitate towards that, Yeah. And so in some ways, when we view our role slightly different than maybe what I explained with Joel and Chase Bliss and yourself. We view ours as like trying to be everywhere because we need to be. Yeah. And some brands don't need to be everywhere.
No, it's all very specific to each brand. I think that I think you should be in as many places as you could, because again, like you're saying, like if you're not on the shelf, you're not going to get that, even the option to buy it. And then, I think the other part of Joel kind of curbing everything and bringing it back was because he literally couldn't keep up with the builds. And so you had all these people flipping on Reverb, which don't get me started or do, since I'm complaining about everything. I absolutely could complain about that. That drives me nuts. And just because you're fast, the armchair hustle, and I get it. Like, hustle culture is real. The economy sucks. We all need extra money. But like the guys that go in and buy, a limited pedal and they put the description on Reverb as only taken out of the box to take a photo. It's like, I think you talk about how sad it is. Like, plug the pedal in and play it before you like try to scalp it for $500.
What if you love it?
Like, yeah, I don't, but yeah, that's definitely a whole thing. I don't even know how I got off on that rabbit trail there. I don't know what the original question was, but
I don't either. We're just going.
I can complain about that for a long time. That's what I was saying. As far as the limited, he couldn't keep up with demand, and so that was kind of part of his kind of throttling back and being like, "Hey, I want people that want these to get them. We can't oversell. We're overselling these to all these dealers that are relying on the brand to make the money that aren't doing anything." And he's pre-sold all these pedals, and they can't make them all. And he didn't want to give them to one dealer first because then whoever you want someone complain. That's just how it is. Like,
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that was part of his, like, they had to do that as well. Like, it wasn't like a evil plan to, like, crush dealers' hearts. It's just kind of like they had to chill out as well. But yeah, String Joy should be everywhere. Y'all should put them things on the moon if you can.
We're trying to, and that's the thing. Is like we don't. It's challenging, right? Because it's a consumable and it's something that we try to keep on top of. But it's been a really interesting ride trying to keep up with demand. We're trying to create demand, of course, but it's also just a weird balancing act because we do things our way. We do them very specifically, and that's not going to change because that's why we exist.
And they're good too. And that's another thing. You don't have a demand, if it's not good. That goes away. If Joel's pedals suck, to keep using him as an example, and if your strings sucked, then your hype would have gone away. A little while after you open. But String Joy makes great strings, so that's why people want them.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate
and that's
that.
another thing, though. There's a lot of stuff in the industry now that's not good things. It's just kind of things because people want to make things, and that's fine as well. But it's it just plays into the landscape of everything. How the market is, and just kind of everything's connected in that way.
We are brought to you today by Sweetwater, specifically the Gear Exchange. You may have heard about this. This is a place where you can go to buy and sell your used gear. Maybe you got a pedal over there that's just kind of collecting dust. Maybe there's something you've been eyeing from the Sweetwater catalog. Well, right now is a great time to turn that unused gear into something you're actually going to use. Even better, if you sell on the Gear Exchange, you can keep 100% of the sale as long as you choose a Sweetwater gift card as your payout method. That is not too shabby because, let's be honest, most of this buying and selling we do is just to fund new gear purchases, and that is a great way to reach a wide variety of customers and keep 100% in your pocket, or rather on your pedal board. So go check out the Sweetwater Gear Exchange and turn that unused gear into something that's actually going to help you write that next huge riff.
Hello there. I'd like to introduce you to your new best friend, the Chase Bliss Audio Lossy. Lossy is a collaboration between Chase Bliss and Goodhertz. And it's meant to give you some control over those weird digital artifacts that come with very compressed audio. You're hearing it right now. All the changes that are taking place are strictly coming from my playing dynamics. I'm just interacting with the pedal and letting it do its thing. In some true stereo goodness. If you'd like some more details about Lossy, I'd invite you to head over to chaseblintsaudio.com. I think you're going to like what you find.
Well, it's in a really interesting time, right? Like, I don't think it's any secret right now that the industry experienced a mass, and I'm talking about the musical instrument industry at large, experienced a massive boom during COVID. That's a fact. Everybody knows it. And pretty much every single hobby-related industry that made stuff to do things with experienced that. From weightlifting, cycling, fishing, everything you can imagine experienced that same boom, during that time. Well, now we're, back to normal. and things are open and everybody's been able to do things for a couple of years. And now everyone's going like, I bought all the stuff. What I view it is like this, is that people had 2 years or 2.5 years to buy all the stuff and they bought all the stuff they would have bought in 5 years. And they did it in 2.5. And they didn't get to do anything that they wanted to do. And now everyone's doing everything. The concert industry has exploded. Restaurants are packed to the gills. Like everything that is an event or a thing that you can go do. Even like the local arts festival here, I drove by and was like, there are thousands of people that probably otherwise wouldn't be here.
And it's 105 degrees outside.
I was like, this is wild. And so people are doing things, and that's great because experiences are valuable, more than stuff to some degree. And so it's this weird time in the industry where we experienced this huge boom. Some people tooled up for that and it didn't maintain. And now I view it as we're almost back to 2018, 2019, where you're having to get real creative with the ways that you move things, the way you get people interested in things, because there for a while, everything was selling itself.
Sure. Yep.
Are you seeing the same thing on your end?
Oh yeah, that's that like you said, that trend is no secret. Like COVID was great for us on that side of things, where it was like, wake up to online sales, which again for us, like being kind of more new to the online push, it was awesome to see. Like, we woke up, we sold 6 pedals last night. That's like a really big deal. Like, so we're gonna skip them all out. Like, the store wasn't even open. Like, we did that, overnight. It's great.
Right.
So we started seeing that, and we were able to open back up a little quicker than some places here in town. And, it was on a very kind of like one person in and out. We weren't doing a bunch of demos. It was kind of like drop your guitar off to get repaired or come in and pick up something. But, it was big. It boomed big. It was great. And it's definitely back down now to just kind of level playing field. We actually see like, I think the market's kind of down, honestly, and not just from COVID, but just from prior to COVID. And I think it's because so many people bought stuff and that not everyone's still playing them. And so you've got a lot of people selling stuff now, and the market is just getting flooded. So it's like, and then you get online and everyone's, mine's $500. Well, I'm going to put mine at $475, and someone else is like, well, I'll put mine at $450, and this guy's like, mine's $400 and it's got a case. And it's like that thing that you were trying to get $500 for, you good luck, and it could be worth it too. It's just kind of like there's so many options now. The market's definitely kind of gone down a little bit, and you got to be. I can imagine as a pedal builder right now, I would be just like scratching my head, like, what do you make that like can inspire someone or be creative without just being a cool looking box? Because that's aesthetics definitely important. That's what catches people's eye first, and then you want to know what it does. But if it's just another thing that's already out there, I don't know what I would do. So you have to be creative. And then for us on the retail side of things, we've just try to, for us, we're trying to push more online. We're trying to get a little more creative with some of the content stuff we've done. We've never really started doing video content until recently. And we're kind of doing our take on like what we would think is like a little gear demo, but it's 60 seconds and there's no talking. It's just real quick, straight to the point. We've actually got a lot of content we've been working on. We've got a lot of fun coming out in about mid-September. Some big news, like the local band. Big news being announced in a month. But yeah, we've got a lot of really cool stuff we've been working on, and we're trying to be creative as well. And just be more, take what we do in our local scene, in our like shop where our friends and our community can come to. And we want people outside to be able to see who we are and see how we do things as well. And so we're kind of trying to put a little bit more of ourselves and our personality out into our online content. So that's been something that we're working on. But yeah, you're right. You have to be creative. I don't know no other way to do it. Everyone's fighting for everybody's attention out there, and our attention spans are not what they used to be. I mean, I can barely even myself sit through like an Instagram story, let alone think about what my 11-year-old daughter's going to be doing in 5 years. Just kind of like, if you ain't getting it, the attention grab, then I don't know. I don't know what you got to do,
Well, somehow people have made it to 50 minutes into this podcast. Somebody's hearing it right now. It's amazing.
We might have to edit a lot of that down. So that's
there's not a lot of editing that happens on this podcast. Just very little, as little as I can get away with. Because I don't know, the conversations and the way they flow. I think that's what's interesting, and it's interesting to hear about the attention spans too. Because I know it's true. I know in the general content creation space that's 100% true. Like, we can see it. But what always blows me away, I was making a joke about it, but it's true. When I go into Spotify and I look at, they show you all kinds of different, wow, my brain just failed, stats and everything. Yeah. my brain
shut off like 5 times while we were talking today, so that's fine.
Yeah, well, you've smoothed it out nicely. That's impressive. But you can see the different stats, and you can see listen times. You can see average listen time across everybody that's downloaded. And what blows me away constantly is that the average listen time is 45 minutes. 45 minutes is great. Average. That means people are spending a lot of time. They're either that or they're just letting it play in the background, and I'm becoming just like the teacher.
No,
which is possible.
Podcasts though, or it's like I recently just started listening to them on drives. I haven't ever had time to listen to podcasts. I've always wanted to, but I've got 2 kids and I got the shop, and then when I'm not doing those things, I'm trying to hang out with my wife or trying to play guitar myself, or so I haven't had time to be much of a podcast guy, but I've gotten into it in the past couple of years, and it's been, I think it's great. I think what you're doing is awesome.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that. I'm a big podcast listener myself. It's probably my most consumed form of media because I do it when I'm doing other things. I do it when I'm working out or driving or mowing the lawn, when I'm doing things that I maybe would rather not be doing that I don't have to think a lot about, cleaning up, sweeping, whatever. That's when I'm like, well, maybe I can get some entertainment or learn something at the same time, or at the very least be somewhat distracted, which I guess we just have to have constant entertainment these days. And that's maybe indicative of a greater problem. But I have learned a lot of things while mowing the lawn too, which is, something that wouldn't have happened otherwise.
Totally.
So I love it. I'm not actually not a big consumer of YouTube, even though I've had a lot of YouTubers on the show, and the ones I have had on, I've made sure to go and watch a lot of their stuff. And I do watch some YouTube in this space, but largely my content is podcasts. That's just what I've always done and what I've always listened to. And hopefully people continue along that ride.
Well, you've been in it for a while, man. Yeah.
I got kids to feed. Please keep listening.
Well, you got to find ways to be creative, man. It's what we're just talking about.
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah. No, and that's what it's really mind-blowing, the people that have stuck with it for so long. I really appreciate all the listeners and everybody that's taken the time, and people like yourself who have taken the time to have these conversations with me, because otherwise it'd just be me rambling by myself out here in the shed. And I don't think anybody would probably listen to that.
I don't know, man. I think people might. I feel like I got a little bit of that ramble out earlier on, and I probably could ramble on another time about things. I'm quite the complainer today. So
sometimes you got to get it off your chest. I totally get it. Well, we are getting close to the end of the main episode. Before I wrap these up, I got classic questions I like to ask at the end. But even before that, I like to give the guests a chance to take the floor, say anything they want to say, shout out their grandma, plug anything they want to plug, anything at all. The floor is yours to talk to a few thousand people right now.
Hey, a few thousand people. What am I plugging? I guess I'm plugging my shop and other shops that don't suck. I think if I had anything that could stick from the podcast, I'd say spend your money where it matters. Support people. The world is changing, and it's gonna matter the people that you connect with and people that you support. And Yeah, and you can find us at eastsidemusicsupply.com and all that fun stuff. We're on all the socials. If you like, our vibe, and if you don't, that's totally cool. Go support somebody that's got your vibe. It's all good.
I love it. And I can personally say, if you are in Nashville and you are a pedal person, you've got to go to Eastside. I was told that my first time. I already said that's at the top of the episode, but my first time in Nashville, everyone said you got to go to Eastside, and I did, and it was the only shop I walked out with something in. So
there we go. That's good.
It's a great store. I love it, and y'all are super cool. So I'm glad to have you on.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. All right. Classic questions. You ready?
Sure.
Okay. First one.
I'm not, but that means it's going to be even better. So bring it on.
You're the perfect person to ask this. Here we go.
Yep.
What's your favorite Boss pedal?
PN2.
Oh, the PN2. Which one's that? Why am I
the tremolo pan? I don't know. That's the first one that I thought of.
Oh, so the panner.
The light green.
Yes. I'm with you.
And I don't even know if that's my favorite, but it's such a good one.
It is a really good one.
There's so many good Boss pedals. That's an unfair question.
It's the question everybody has to get asked that question.
Yeah. TU2.
That's what so many people say.
I mean, it's a really good one too.
It is. I'm
boring.
Today I'm going with the Metal Zone. Maybe it'll change tomorrow, but today it's Metal Zone.
Yeah, that's completely fine.
I like it. All right, final question. What is your favorite kind of pizza?
Favorite kind of pizza? I'm a jalapeno and pineapple guy.
I was right there with you for a second.
I knew it was coming, but I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I
appreciate that. Appreciate the honesty.
That's because I can't get real good pizza. I mean, there's a couple spots that are pretty good here, but I don't know. That's an unfair question too. You ask unfair questions, Blake.
That's not unfair. That's a totally
Boss
reasonable
pedal. Favorite kind of pizza.
You've been all over the country, though. You've been all over. You've been to other places.
Well, I think my favorite pizza I ever had was called like Lombardo's or something. It was in New York. It was
Lombardi's
like
in New York. Oh yeah. That's
Dude, that was the best. That was the first New York style I ever had, and it was definitely life changing.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We're on the same.
That's a better answer than my down the street jalapeno and pineapple, right?
Yeah, but you got some good spots down there. You got 5 points.
5 points is good. It is good, and they always got some good specials. Just kind of I don't discriminate. That's why the favorite pizza. That's not fair, man. That's not fair.
Smith and Lentz. I love Smith and Lentz. That's a good one.
Smith and Lentz's pizza is cool too. Yeah. Yep.
Yep. And Napoli. Have you ever been to Napoli down there?
I have not. No.
I recommend it. Go there, and I'm not even a big lasagna guy. I mean, I don't hate lasagna or anything, but my wife said she loves lasagna. She'll get it, and if she sees lasagna on the menu, there's a good chance she's getting it.
Yeah, she's a connoisseur.
Yeah, exactly. This place's lasagna is insane,
nice.
And then their quattro formaggi pizza is it's legit. Yeah,
I'll give it a shot for sure.
Yeah, look at me giving Nashville food recommendations to a native Nashvilleian.
Dude, I don't go anywhere anymore, man. It's crazy in Nashville. Freaking wild. I stay at home, dude.
I do the same thing here in Portland. I don't blame you. I go out for lunch. I don't go out for dinner. I go out for lunch. All right, man. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. Let's see what kind of craziness we can get into on Patreon. What do you say?
Yeah, it sounds good.
All right, everybody. Okay, for Blair, this is Blake. And as always, folks, good luck and good tones. Alrighty, folks, there you have it. There it is. It's another one in the can. And we got into more on Patreon. You know how it is. You know how we do things around here. So if you would like to support the show and you'd like to get more yummy, delicious conversational content, just go over to patreon.com, where for $5 a month, you can get access to that. And you can get access to the ad-free feed of this podcast. Thank you all so much for hanging out. Make sure you check out Eastside in Nashville. Go follow them on the socials. That's all linked down below, of course. Or I guess in the podcast description if you're on a podcast player like you probably are. Anyway, thank you so much for hanging out. I will talk to you on the internet very, very soon. Later, folks. One last thing before we totally sign off here. I just want to remind you that if you do any shopping at Stringjoy, that's Stringjoy guitar strings made in Nashville, that will help me out as well. As I've said for years, I'm heavily involved in that company, and I really do think they're making the best products on the market. So if you would like to try custom strings, go to tonemob.com/stringjoy and check them out today. I seriously love what the team down there is doing. I help them out with all kinds of things, and by you supporting them, you are also supporting me as well. And hey, you need some strings, so why not get some custom strings just for your guitar and playing style? Again, the link for that is tonemob.com/stringjoy, and that will take you right to their website, and you can do all your shopping through there, and that will help everyone involved out. So thank you very much. Talk to you next time. We are brought to you by the wonderful folks at Gun Street Wiring Shop. Yes, Gun Street Wiring Shop. I've talked about them before. I used to say based out of Bend, Oregon, but guess what? Sean moved to my neck of the woods. Sean's in Portland. Sean is awesome and has helped me with a bunch of stuff lately. And if you have wiring needs for your guitar, he can help you too. If you want to get weird with it, he can get weird. If you just need to spruce things up a little bit, there's your guy. He takes all the guesswork out of doing your guitar wiring, and he makes it simple, and his customer service is top-notch, and I can't say enough good things about Gun Street as a company. I really respect Sean and what he's all about, and the product is top-notch. I've got 3 different guitars that now have Gun Street harnesses in them, and I could not be happier. So go to gunstreetwiringshop.com and check them out.
Hey, this is Aaron from No Simple Road. I'm inviting you to come hang out with Apple, Mel, and I as we talk with the musicians, artists, chefs, authors, and beyond from the world that turns us on. We're reaching into the improvisational music scene, the psychedelic culture, the festival world, and getting to know what makes the people tick that create those scenes. Come join us on the long, strange trip over at No Simple Road.
Yes, hello out there, everyone. I'm Hal Schwartz.
And I'm Flynn McLean. Together we host None But the Brave, a podcast dedicated to the music and career of Bruce Springsteen.
Bruce and E Street Band are on tour right now for the first time in 6 years, and we're taking a detailed look at what's happening on stage in our bi-weekly episodes.
We've also been recently joined by some very exciting guests, including rock journalist Warren Zanes and Stephen Hayden, Backstreet's Magazine founder Charles Cross, and Barstool's Kirk Minahan.
If you're a diehard Springsteen fan, this is the show for you.
So please subscribe to None But the Brave on your favorite podcasting platform, and we hope to see you further on up the road.
Thank you so much. We'll be seeing you.